Today we're taking a look at a very handsome skin diver from Islander Watches. It's called the Port Jefferson. However, if you're from Long Island, you probably would call it the Port Jeff, is basically what I want to call it when I see it, because I am from Long Island. However, this is a thin dive watch with 150 meters of water resistance and one of the best dials that I have seen from the brand, and they do make pretty nice dials. This is a salmon copper color. They call it something different, but it is beautiful. So let's flip the camera and take a look at the new skin diver from Islander Watches. The last Islander I had on the channel, I was blown away by the quality, the fit, and the finish, the overall look of the watch. I really thought it was somewhat of a step up from products that I've actually featured here from Islander on the channel before, and I always thought that they made a very high quality watch. But that was really, really nice. It was their GMT. It had a sapphire bezel. It was their Swiss GMT, so it had, I believe it was a Sellita SW300 inside. Really, really nice watch. It was a Sellita SW330, I guess, is what the GMT version is. This is their skin diver. This just recently came out, and this is the burnt orange dial, or sun faded orange dial. I think it's sun faded orange is what they are calling it. However, what it looks like is a salmon dial, and actually I would say it looks more like a fresh copper dial. That's probably what I would have called it, but I get what they're going for here. It does look a little bit orange, but it definitely looks like copper in my opinion. And then you have a blue ceramic bezel insert, and you also have a metallic minute track on this watch and indices that are applied, and I believe you have little blocks of lume, or at least the entire indice is essentially painted with lume, and then you have like a line that goes down the center of each one of the indices. And then you have stick hands, those are filled with lume, then you have lume on the second hand, and of course the logo is lumed. However, since the logo is white against that pink salmon copper background, it almost looks like a ghost logo. And then you have lume in the bezel, so there is a lot of lume on this watch. It is a skin diver, and this is one of the first watches from Islander where I cannot say this is a specific homage to a certain watch. However, you know, the case does look a lot like a Black Bay 58, I would say. So you do have some slab siding, really nice chamfered edge on here. Everything is finished very, very nicely on the watch. The brushing is very, very smooth, and then you have a really nice transition for that chamfered edge, for that polished edge along the case. Same thing goes for the crown side. You have a very big crown, very similar again to what you would get from a Black Bay 58. However, that's sort of where the similarities end for a comparison to the Black Bay 58, maybe the bezel a little bit, but other than that, obviously the dial is somewhat original, and you have a date here at the 6 o'clock. It is color matched. This is a 150 meter dive watch because it is a skin diver, so it's a little bit lighter of a diver, so it is also thinner because of that. It is thin because you're getting a Miyota 9015 inside, which is a naturally thin movement. I say naturally thin, it's engineered to be thinner than, let's say, an NH35. So this is a thin movement, therefore you're getting a thin watch with 150 meters of water resistance, which is really more than you will ever need, and especially if you wear something like this on a day-to-day basis. You also get a beads of rice bracelet. It's a very solid bracelet with solid end links, all solid links, polished right down the middle, so all the beads of rice are polished. Then you have brushed outer links. Everything is smooth and feels really nice. You get really big screws in the bracelet, so very easy to change links out if you want to. The buckle is a generic buckle. It's a micro brand buckle that is typically used. It has the Islander logo right there. It's a little bit small and only has 3 positions of micro adjust. Really not terrible, very, very functional, but I think this could do for a little bit nicer of a buckle in my opinion. It's not a bad buckle like I mentioned, just could do for a little bit nicer of a buckle. That's about it. This is about a 40 millimeter watch. So if you measure this at the bezel, which is essentially what it measures at the case, 39.8 millimeters at the bezel. So that's what it wears like, a 40 millimeter watch. You have a very big crown on here. Like I mentioned before, it's around, let me grab it correctly, 7.4 millimeters. You do have female end links on here. And it wears like a 48 millimeter lug to lug. Even at the bracelet, it's 48.6, excuse me. And then you have around an 11 millimeter thickness, somewhere in that neighborhood. So 11.3 millimeters. That's including the sapphire crystal that is slightly raised and has a AR coating. So there you go. The price on this watch is $415. So $415, really nice construction, lots of lume, and of course it's an automatic Miyota 9015. Very good price, I think, for this watch, especially if you want something with a copper dial. This is really a copper dial, like I mentioned, and it's metallic. You have that little metallic surround. I'll do close-up so you can see what I'm talking about. Really very nice. Quickly, I'll show you what I have on wrist today. Today on wrist, I have an amazing independent brand. This is Reuter Watches. It's a brand that I have featured on my channel before. This is a new watch from them that I've never featured here, at least. This is a piece unique that has a sterling silver dial. It is a handmade dial and of course a hand finished movement. The movement inside here is a Valjoux 7750. So essentially they take a 7750 and finish it to the max. And this is the result. Look at that. They even coat the movement in different colors. So this one is in rose gold. It looks phenomenal. All the edges of all of the components are chamfered and polished. Really a special watch. I'll be doing a full video on this watch in the coming weeks. Here is the Islander ISL 178 on my 7.5 inch wrist. Like I mentioned, this is a 40 millimeter watch, or just under 40 millimeters at that bezel. You have around 11.5 millimeter thickness, which is excellent. You can see this is unsized on my wrist, but it does wear very nice and very close to the wrist. A very thin watch for 150 meters of water resistance. Very good, very nicely sized. And you have about a 48 millimeter lug span. Very quickly, let's check out the lume. Well, there's a lume. Pretty damn good. The entire bezel is lumed. Even the first 15 minutes have minute markers that are lumed. Those indices all lumed. There's a lot of lume on them. The hands are lumed, including the second hand, so you can see that it is working in the dark. The date is not lumed. That is that little area at 6 o'clock. That is blank. That looks good. And I'm perfectly okay with that. Orientation in the dark is excellent on this watch. Overall, lume very good and very liberally applied. Let's listen to the bezel action. Really good bezel action on here. Everything sounds really good, feels really good, audible clicks, and very tactile feel to it. Really great bezel action, and everything lines up. So in a new segment, I'm asking 3 questions. The first question, is this ugly? And the answer is absolutely not. I think this is a very good looking watch. Question number 2, is it cool? I think this is a cool watch. In fact, I think Islander have become somewhat of a cool brand. This is called the Port Jeff here on Long Island. That's what we call Port Jeff. It's called the Port Jefferson, really, and it's a skin diver. I think this is a cool watch, and I think it's cool that it comes from Long Island. Not only because I am from Long Island, I think this is cool because it looks cool. And the last question, is it worth it? Yes, I think it is worth the $415 for this watch. They make a very high quality watch, and you are getting a Miyota 9015 in this watch, which is a more expensive movement from movements that they have used in their other watches like the NH35. So I think this is definitely worth the money. The quality is there, especially the dial. The dial is excellent on this specific watch. I think that the color really works. And if you are looking for a salmon dial or a copper dial, this is beautiful. Anyway, guys, tell me what you think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of this watch? What do you think of this dial? Tell me what you think of Islander. What do you think about the 3 questions that I asked? Would you ask any other questions about this watch? Please put those questions down in the comment section below. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. I will catch you in the next video.